Okay, I got a little movie review for you. Terrified. Came out in like 2017. It's from Argentina. It's going to be in Spanish, so there's going to be subtitles. I think there's a dubbing, but I haven't watched it with the dubbing. But I might give it a try to see if they change the wording sometimes to make sense in English. Because not everything is a direct translation. It doesn't always work from Spanish to English and back and forth. But it's a cosmic horror movie. A lot of people saying ghost and paranormal. I'm not a big fan of paranormal movies. I think they're really dumb for the most part. Movies like The Nun or The Ring, where you have some entity that you can't fucking stop no matter what, to me is just real stupid. And the cosmic horror thing is a lot more fucking scarier than any dumb ghost movie, in my opinion. And that's what's so great about that. And I think a lot of people on YouTube are talking about this movie, but they get a lot of things really wrong. But I give it a 7 out of 10. There's some bad CGI in some spots, but there's some great gruesome deaths and some real creepy fucking scenes. Some great practical effects with a child. And in my opinion, that stuff is really well done. Other than that, it's one of those movies where they do a lot of showing and not telling. So you got to kind of pay attention why things are happening. And you're definitely going to want to go back and watch it twice. I've watched it about 3 times, and you'll see like a little thing here and a little thing there. Oh, there was a creature over there, and you didn't really notice before. And it's, in my opinion, it's probably one of the better horror movies that came out in the last maybe 5-10 years. Some pretty decent jump scares. I really suggest you go out and you give it a shot. My buddy picked it up at Walmart for $10. I'm probably going to go buy one because I want to see if there's any like behind the scenes and see what the director says about it. But yeah, I highly recommend that shit. So right now, spoilers. Alright, spoilers. So this is an explanation. I can't fucking say the word. I'm gonna explain. Can't say the Asian part. Fuck it. I'm gonna explain what the story is pretty much about. It's not a ghost story. A lot of people on YouTube are saying it's a fucking ghost story. There are no fucking ghosts in this movie. There are no ghosts. Not one of these creatures are a fucking ghost. I've also read people saying hallucinations. No, none of that shit is what's going down. There's no hallucinations. There are no ghosts. These are creatures that come from another dimension. Okay, God, it's so weird. It's so weird to explain this. But, okay, real world, alright? Science has proven that multiple dimensions exist. And there's one study, I can't really name it, but it says that 2 realities can share the same space. And this is like real. This is real life shit. Alright? And they can share the same space and time at the same time. And it's usually only on a quantum level. So it's like real fucking tiny. But it is possible. So, basically, in the movie, you constantly see the neighbor's bed. And under his bed, there's all these fucking humanoids. And they're long-armed, long-legged, real fucking creepy. And every scene, it's almost like they're overflowing. Like they're just falling out from under the bed. And one of the humanoids crawls out from under the bed and goes into the closet. Now, you can see the creature sometimes and then you can't see him. So I believe that light is affecting the dimensions the same way kind of like observation affects the... there's an experiment called the 2-slit experiment where they shoot like electrons or shit through 2 slits in like a wall. And they have like a wave effect. And the electrons will hit the second wall behind the 2 slits and they kind of scatter, and it's completely random. But when you put a machine to observe these particles going through the slit, everything changes and the randomness stops, and the particles hit the same part on the wall. So what I'm trying to say is, the whole scene where the American doctor Rosenthorpe says there's different points of views, and he's saying darkness as light. So I guess light is somehow affecting what you see. The first scene you really see that's really gruesome is when the guy's girl or wife is in the bathroom and she's having her head bashed up against the wall back and forth. Two things. At first, it didn't make sense, but then looking back, it does make sense, because she was taking a shower, and these creatures obviously have some kind of connection with water. And from what I understand is, water is one of those elements where there's like certain particles and atoms and shit like that have that ability to go through like space and time and enter different dimensions. We know gravity does it, and there's other like photons and weird shit that can do that. So water has this ability to kind of cross dimensions, and maybe these creatures live in a dimension where there's no water, and the only way for them to breed is to, do it in water, because they're maybe in their dimension they're very tiny, like microbes, but they colonize kind of like coral does. And if you don't know, like anemones and corals in the ocean, they're not one creature, they're thousands of creatures that live together, and they kind of make their own shell. They take calcium and they build a shell to live in. Imagine like human beings building a giant apartment to live in, making their own like homes in it. The same things with these creatures. So her being in the shower, she might have drank some of the water, and being that the light is on in the bathroom when the guy goes in there, maybe if he turned the light off, he would have probably seen a fucking creature in there throwing the bitch left and right into the walls. And my theory is, because the movie isn't in order, there's a lot of going back and forth and telling the scientists, what happened. I kind of look at it like this: the main nest is under the dude, the single guy, the neighbor's under his bed. And as more of these creatures nest and the more of them gather, they start affecting all the electronics and shit. They have some kind of electrical field, because every time someone goes to his little talk box outside, it turns on, but you don't hear anything, and you just hear weird shit coming through. So I think what happens is these creatures, you might have an instance here and there in the world where someone might see one of these creatures and they'll think, it's a ghost, because there's one of them just simply came over to our side and got stuck. So what happens, in my opinion, the nest is getting bigger and bigger. They're flowing out from under the bed. The more of them there are, they start casting like an aura of electromagnetic interference. So none of the phones, the walkie-talkies work. You see a lot of chairs, and there's the one scene where you see the clocks, and Rosenthorpe goes into the kitchen, and you see all the spoons and shit stuck onto the cabinet. I believe they have some kind of magnetic aura to them that they're just affecting the reality around them. And I think that's why they like blood, because there's iron in blood. And maybe they obviously need blood for food, and then they use the water for breeding. And to me, that makes sense why the first lady dies the way she does in the bathroom. The creature is just bashing her against the walls and shit, and she's bleeding out. There's blood everywhere. But where's all that blood going? It's going down the drain. The water's on. It's going down to feed the nest. And it all comes from the one guy's apartment at first. And as things get worse and worse, he gets the couple gets the crack in the wall. And you could see throughout the movie that crack in the wall, you know, he patches it up. And it's a tiny little crack at first, but then when they go back, it's fucking huge. Like, you can put your arm through it, and then it's big enough where something can come through, like, physically. And the doctor is looking, that one chick doctor is looking through the crack with a flashlight, and it's almost like, it looks like it's about 15 feet or 10 feet deep. Like, there's a tunnel, and then on the other side of that little ruined space, there's another crack in another wall. And one of the guy, the single guy who lived in the apartment by himself, who starts this all off, you can see him on the other side. He's obviously been taken over. And this is where, like, a lot of people say they get the whole ghost thing, and it's from when that little kid dies. But if you notice, before the kid gets hit by the bus, he drinks water from the faucet, and all the faucets are off, but whenever shit is going down with these creatures, you notice the faucets leak. So water is kind of like being forced through the off spigot. And it's the same for that little kid who goes out and drinks that water. Because it's not really well explained. Because when you see the neighbor die, the single guy, he's out there with the revolver, and one of the arms grabbed the revolver. Why would ghosts be afraid of a fucking gun? And it's the same when Rosenthorpe and Funes are at the bed, and he sees all the creatures under the bed. And I think those are like the young creatures, like the babies or maybe the teens, where some of the adults are the ones out doing all the fucked up shit. Because Funes pulls out his gun and points it at the creature under the bed, and the creature under the bed fucking backs off. Like, he knows a bullet to the face will probably fuck you up. So that's another reason why I don't think they're ghosts. And with the little kid drinking the water first, whatever's in the water, it might be like a colony of the creatures. You know, when you're alive, it's kind of like from the movie Thing. You can get infected two ways. You can be completely taken over by the creature, or you could be slowly infected like a virus, and it takes a while for it to like just consume you and take over your body and shit like that. So with that being said, that's why I think the child, when he comes back, you know, there's obviously dirt on his hands, like he dug himself out of the grave. And they're obviously intelligent to some extent, because they say people's names. They had fear of the guns. And when the kid's, you know, dead, he's not really moving. He's kind of just like playing possum, kind of like hiding and not giving too much away. And the reason why I think everyone can see him all the time is because he wasn't taken over the same way as everybody else was. Everybody else was physically like killed by a creature and then maybe absorbed, or the creature went inside their mouth or something, somehow possessed them. You can obviously see that some of the creatures can hide in very tiny places. There's one scene where you can see like a face in a cubby and shit like that. So, you know, with dark spaces, you know, they can hide in all kinds of weird places. The same where, I want to say June is his name. The ex-morgue, ex-cop guy gets killed. And then he's like in the cubby. And he's telling the guys like, hey, get me out of here. There's glass shards in my eyes. I think the creatures are just fucking with Funes, the cop. The same when the lady is telling the story and she's like kind of explaining, and the cop goes, is there any way to stop this? And she goes, no. I think she's being honest, because I don't know how you would stop interdimensional beings that have an ability to open gates and come into our world. You might physically be able to kill them, but you might not be able to physically stop them from opening the door. Like that's happening on their end. It might not be happening on our reality. But I think you can physically kill the creatures easily. when her neck is broken and she comes running out, that scared the shit out of me. It was a great fucking scene. I was like, there's something back there, and all my friends were like, nah, I don't see anything. And then that bitch came running, and they all freaked out. It was great. But she tells you, hey, there's time to save us. There's still time to save us. They're torturing us. Help, and she yells out the cop's name. I think she's just fucking with the cop. I don't think it's any part of the old lady that exists. I think once these things get into your body, kind of like The Thing and like Invasions of the Body Snatcher kind of shit, where they absorb all your knowledge and who you are and your personality to an extent. Like they're not maybe super intelligent, but they can absorb your intelligence and they can go from there. Other than that, I think it's a fucking cool idea for like a horror movie. Pretty much colonized bacteria invading humans' bodies through water, and then they're able to take over actual body and then take it back into the dimension and then come back. And they're obviously fucking strong too. I mean, you just put your hand around someone's face and snap their neck. They obviously don't have too much to fear, but they feared the guns and shit. So, and the one guy at the end when he's trying to set all the houses on fire is blowing out the fire. So maybe the fire would have done something to the nest, but more proof why they're not like Ghost and anything. Because usually ghost movies, the ghost is always stuck to something. Like The Ring, it's always to whoever watches the video or any kind of haunting. Usually there's an item or some shit that the evil spirit is attached to. These motherfuckers can walk around and go anywhere because it's like, they're physical. They're obviously physical. The kid is constantly moving around and going different places, but he never goes back to his dimension. And I don't know if that's because he doesn't get the chance to, or simply because he's already dead, and maybe that corpse, because he was possessed through the water, somehow he's already rotted, it wouldn't have mattered, or maybe that body wasn't like useful enough. Because part of me says that all the humanoids that you see under the bed might have been humans from long time ago that they just grabbed here and there and brung over into their dimension and are using them as like vessels and using them to like feed and breed and help travel. At the very end, Rosenthorpe is in the room with the cops and stuff, and he obviously hitched a ride in a car and went after him. And it's like, the reason to me why the creature went after the guy and all of them is because they know what's going on. And I think the creatures are smart enough where they're trying to mop up and clean up, because obviously the guy didn't want the fire to happen in the house. The one creature, Juan, he didn't want the house to be set on fire. He was blowing out the matches and shit. And even, when Fruins, the cop guy, takes off and freaks out, and he's out by himself, and his cell phone is finally working and his radio is finally working. One of the cops is there and he says, hey, your friend's here, and he's acting really strange out in the yard, and he's just standing out in the yard. It's like, they're obviously taking over that whole fucking neighborhood. And I hope there's like a part 2. I hope this movie does pretty well. Definitely, if you haven't watched it and you're listening to the spoiler shit right now, go fucking watch the movie. It's pretty decent. The bad CGI, I can get over it. The second movie, maybe they get a little extra money and they can fix some stuff and explain some things a little bit more. But I really like the whole idea of like body snatchers, actual physical creatures rather than stupid ghosts and shit like that. To me, ghosts, you got a ghost throwing shit at you, you can't hurt them. But I think the creatures, with all somehow they're producing some kind of electromagnetic field, because you see that the chairs move towards the crack in the wall, and they had metal legs. The clock is stuck to the wall. Dr. Rosenberg's hand gets pulled up into the knife, because there's iron in your blood. So they probably have, some, depending on how powerful the creature is. If I was the cop there, I would have shot into the fucking cabinet. I would have lit the fucking cabinet up. If something can physically grab you, it should be able to be physically manipulated, in return. But other than that, it's not a ghost movie. It's obviously like a cosmic alien shit. And give it a fucking go. I think it's really good. It's got good jump scares. Other than that, that's the best I can explain what was going on. The creatures are smart enough where they're fucking with you. They want you to let them out of their little cubby hole so they can just fucking grab you and take over your body. They're smart, and that's one thing I really like too. I don't like dumb monsters. I like monsters with a little bit of intelligence, because then you have to like fight the unknown. Because maybe the creature can die from a couple bullets, but then all these motherfuckers start working together and shit and fucking with you to trick you, kind of like demons would. I can see why some people would even consider that the monsters are actual demons. Saying, oh, they're torturing us. Maybe the creature knows enough about humanity that, there's people believe in heaven and hell. So if you think they're demons and you think, oh, your friends are being tortured in hell now because we have their bodies, you're going to come back and try to save them, when really they want you to come back so they can fucking eat you and take over your body. Well, that's the best I can do with this movie. That's my take on it. And I think if you disagree, write in the comments if you think something else. But it's a good movie. Give it a shot out. Give it a chance. It's better than most of the shit coming out. All right? That's it for me. All right, bye.